Hello students and welcome to week 2 of our course. This week we're going to dig into a discussion of writing process, and I wanted to devote my announcement video this week to talking a little bit about the importance of writing process as a part of writing instruction, and to talk to you about something that is probably the most critical component of writing instruction, and I don't know if our course deals with it quite enough, and that is the issue of transfer. And I want to talk about transfer and what it is when we're talking about transfer of writing skills. So basically, when you think about yourself as a writing teacher, I want you to try to think of yourself as a writing teacher with the goal to make your students better writers, not just in your class, but better writers for the rest of their lives. That is no easy task. And we have to look at research to help us make good decisions when we're doing that. When we're talking about transfer of skill, what we're talking about is taking the skills, in this case we're talking about writing skills, taking the writing skills that students learn in our classes and then being able to apply them in different writing situations. So the next class or something at work. Now this is much more difficult than it may seem. Most of the time students do not transfer skill very well unless there are some very specific things that are happening to help make that possible. You would like to think, and I know for a long time when I was teaching, I just imagined that students were going to take what I was teaching them and then just figure out how to apply that to their other classes and their other courses. And that's just not the case. So what we have to do is we have to look at what the research tells us can help increase the chances. Now there are some things that we can't control, although I guess we could control it to a certain extent, but it's tough. Sometimes there's just a lot of student motivation that is involved in transfer of skill. There are some things that we can do to try to help students be more motivated, and that's something, of course, to always keep in mind as a writing teacher. There are some things related to just whether or not the student enjoys the material, whether or not the student actually kind of sort of likes you as a teacher, that increases the chances of transfer. These things are difficult and tricky and complex and have to do with personalities. And so you may feel like, oh, well, what can I do? There are thankfully some things that you can do. And one of the things that we know from research that can help is giving students a stronger writing process. So that means that providing students with steps that we know tend to help in a writing process can then increase chances of success in other classes. The idea is that students are probably not going to follow the exact process that you give them in your writing class, but chances are they're going to keep some of it. And even that some of it is going to make a difference. Research shows that if you want to improve student writing product, you have to improve student writing process. So we'll see this emphasis on process, and you will see anywhere you go, anywhere you're teaching writing, you should see a strong emphasis on process. This is well known, it is proven. There's been a lot of study of this. I refer to a meta-analysis from Graham and Perrin from 2007, which provided a summary of, at that time, what we knew to be best practices, and writing process was in there then. Writing process has been in the research for a while, so you will see good programs focusing on writing process. Now, with that said, there are things that you can do to help enhance transfer by teaching certain things within a writing process. One of them is a rhetorical approach. There is some research out there from the University at Albany that shows that adding rhetorical approaches to writing process instruction or writing instruction in general does also increase chances of transfer of skill. And along with that, you may have heard of the writing about writing movement. That kind of goes along with teaching things rhetorically. It's basically giving students the tools that writers use. Those tend to be rhetorical tools. And then using that information to help inform students' understanding of writing process. These things are helpful. These things do seem to make a difference. So even though transfer transfer of skill can feel kind of scary. And even after I've been teaching for 20 years, I still worry and wonder and want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. There are things that we can do, and the research helps us do that. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits of staying at least mostly current in the research, subscribing to journals in our field, subscribing to listservs where current topics are being discussed. And I will share some of those resources with you, at least the biggest ones, as we go along. I know there's a lot of information for you to take in, and I try not to overwhelm. But I wanted to talk just for a little bit today about the importance of writing process and how it really does seem to pan out in the research. And that's why you'll see it explored in this class, and you should see it be a part of any writing instruction curriculum wherever you go teach. If you have a curriculum that's developed for you, you should see that in there. And then hopefully, of course, you will be teaching at a place where you get to develop or at least have say in your own curriculum. And then you want to be sure that you're taking steps to help improve students' writing process. And remember, even though they're probably not going to take all of it with them, even if they just take some of it with them, you're making a big difference. So I look forward to seeing what you think. This week in our discussions, we're going to be talking about specifically the early stages of writing process, so invention and pre-writing. We'll get to share your insights into it and then think about how you could apply that to a classroom. And then we're doing something super exciting for the journal this week. You're going to look at the 10 principles from the Informed Pedagogic Principles reading that we have in our, it's linked in our module for this week. You're going to look at that, and then you're going to use that to identify what you value as an instructor. This is going to be the beginnings of your teaching philosophy. These things are kind of hard to write, but they're so important, and you will need them a lot on the job market. Even part-time positions will often require teaching philosophies. So this is kind of exciting because you're using that reading to help you kind of identify what's important, which is then going to help you start to identify what you value as an instructor, how you see yourself, and what that teaching philosophy might look like. And I'm excited to see those at the end of the term. I will be looking this week for my own teaching philosophy. I think it might be a little dated, so I'll try to touch it up a little bit and share that with you in the discussions. I hope this video has been helpful. I will talk a lot more about transfer of skill, as I really do think it is the #1 most critical issue in our field right now, and probably since our field began, probably till forever. So it is really important, and we'll talk more about it, and I look forward to seeing you in the discussions. Thank you so much, and have a great week. Bye, everyone.